deliberations to select a foreperson and go through some of those things before they can really then start going through the evidence. Typically jurors, and this is, you know, not certainly a standard practice, but a lot of times what you'll hear from juries is that they may even take a quick poll at the beginning of their deliberations to find out where they stand on each of the verdicts off the bat before they start going through and looking at these things and discussing them. And they've got a lot here. There's 3 defendants. It's one trial, but it's essentially 3 trials simultaneously. So 3 verdict forms, 1 for each defendant. 2 of them are charged with 2 counts. That is Tu Tao and J. Alexander Kang. Thomas Lane is 1 count.
I always find it fascinating about how when jurors come together here, they're given basically no instructions about how to proceed. They have to self-organize and figure it out on their own, which is always very fascinating to me. Judge Magnuson did say this, though. I mean, they're charged with violating George Floyd's civil rights, especially with not offering medical assistance and failing to intervene. And he said a key word in their deliberations needs to be willfulness. Can you walk us through that, Rob?
Yeah, and that was addressed by all the attorneys yesterday in closing arguments. You've heard it through this trial, willfulness and deliberate indifference. And those are key. That is a key part of these charges because they are federal charges accusing them of violating constitutional rights against unreasonable search and seizure, against an unreasonable use of force, and the right to have medical aid if necessary, especially for those operating under the color of law. And what color of law means for constitutional rights cases is operating under the authority in some way, under a uniform or a badge, police officers or other officials that have some sort of authority over the general public, that they cannot abuse that authority that they're given and go beyond what the law allows them to do. So, that is your right against being unlawfully arrested or detained or unlawfully searched, or a use of force that goes beyond what's reasonable for the resistance there, that once resistance ends, that force has to end. And so the willfulness is a key part of this. Did they willfully, knowingly, intentionally know that they had these civil rights, violations? Did they know that they had these constraints under the law, or these duties under the law? Did they willfully do these things that they're accused of? Did they willfully ignore an unreasonable use of force and not intervene? Did they willfully ignore a need for medical aid and make that conscious decision not to provide that aid when it was necessary? So that's, again, a key part of this, that jurors really have to decide, did they ignore an unreasonable use of force, or did they fail to intervene? You could say, yes, they failed to intervene, but did they do so knowingly, willfully make that conscious choice?
And that's a key point.